So welcome back to yet another instalment of this Bentley T Series Murrayna Park Ward convertible. It's a bit of a milestone today because, believe it or not, today is our 100th episode since we began 2 years ago, and it's pretty hard to believe. I mean, it's flown over for me. But today, to mark that occasion, we've decided to introduce a new members area. Now, this means we're still going to bring you the 3 episodes each month, as promised. But for you people who'd like to see a little bit more, or simply like what you see, or just can't sleep at nights, then this enables you to access extra videos. It follows me around, meeting more people, seeing their classics, listening to their, incredible stories. And look, I'd just like to take this occasion as well to thank you all so much for your undying support. Thank you for all you people who've hit that button and subscribed. And I just hope you're going to join me on this new venture, this new community, and help grow the channel even more. And more importantly, it just brings me closer to you guys, which for me is what it's all about. Anyway, with that out the way, as always, let's get stuck in. So if becoming a member is something you're interested in, then merely click on the join button below the video. Right, now the dust has settled, as promised, I'm going to give you a proper walk around the car and have a proper look and see what we've got here. And I will be delving into the car's past, who the car was delivered new to originally. Just give you a little bit about the car's journey, the car's life, and how it ended up in California in a junkyard. Anyway, let's get started. Now, I know I had a decent look at it when I was in Beverly Hills Car Club when I was purchasing the car, but it was all a little bit quick and a little bit rushed, and to be honest, I didn't care whether the engine was seized, what condition the car was in. Because of the car's provenance and its rarity and being #1, there was no way this beauty wasn't coming home with me. So anyway, let's take a little look. Now, the first thing that struck me, everything looks really clean, and I know it's probably been steam cleaned because, that's what dealers do when they're selling the car to get a better deal or a better price, whatever. But I think considering the smashed up back end, that didn't matter, whatever. People were just going to look at this car and think, that's not for me, there's too much work, I'm walking away. Not for me, of course, because I'm a mug or brave or whatever you might think, but in for a penny, as they say. Yes, so looking at this, everything looks really clean. The radiator's literally like brand new. The belts are in good condition, albeit a little bit strange with the rib on the outside rather than the inside. These ignition leads are definitely brand spanking new. The distributor cap's brand new as well. This all looks clean. Now, the thing that really struck me was the brake fluid. If you look through them little windows at the front, you can actually see how clean the fluid is. Because when a car like this has been sitting up for any length of time, the first thing you notice is a kind of, you get a decomposed brake reservoir where it starts sludging up and becoming discoloured, the fluid. And it's basically, time for a rebuild, because these cars don't like sitting up. And at the best of times, even if they're being used, you need to rebuild about 8 to 10 years on these, which is a costly, time-consuming business, but it's just something that's got to be done. It's something to do with the design or the design fault of the car when it was first built. You look at the bonnet shut, watch how this shuts. I mean, it's perfect. All the lines are perfect. I'll go through a couple of the subtle differences from this and a Corniche. You see the way this is rounded on the bonnet? That's to match the grille here. Now, on the Corniche, if you look over here, see the way it's got a much sharper edge? Again, to match the grille at the front, which has a sharper corner. Okay, it's rounded, but it's not as rounded as that one is. Now, another subtle difference is if you look here on the front of the lights, here you've got an RR, and then on this one, this is a B for Bentley. Let's look at the bumpers and the chrome. There's not a single ding or scratch or any knocks at all, or scrapes or anything on this bumper. It looks like brand new. Okay, the grille badges are invariably stolen, aren't they? And they've gone by the wayside somewhere. And with the car being in a hot climate, you get all this sun damage as well. It's just been sitting in a junkyard for years, in 120 degrees heat, and eventually, you know, the shrink when it goes cool overnight, and then when it heats up in the daytime, you know, years and years of that, it just takes its toll. Again, the chrome's perfect on the bonnet, but yeah, of course, it needs to be stripped back to bare metal, this, and a decent paint job in the original colour. I'm going to keep this car completely stock. The hood again, the hood's ripped, as you can see, and that's heat damage as well. But if you look inside, if you just come inside and take a look, if you look at this headline, it looks completely original. You can tell the way it's done. You know, it's exactly as it should be at the factory, this. And again, it's really well maintained and looked after, or just maybe the hood's been recessed for many years, so it's kept nice, and it's been put down when the hood was dry, so it hasn't rotted in any way. I mean, I honestly think this would go again if it was steam cleaned up properly within an inch of its life, and a new hood and stuffing put in. I think it'd look a treat. You know, it's a shame to mess about with original cars. Just keep them as original as you possibly can. The same with the interior. You look at the seats, they dried up a lot. But as Alex said at Beverly Hills Car Club, it's like, you know, it's like a glove. It's like a baseball glove. It's just weathered over time, but it's nicely worn in. You know, soft in bits. Okay, it's got a rip here, so I'm going to have to put a panel in here, but the rest of it should clean up and feed up and paint up and look like brand new when I'm finished with it. I mean, you've seen me do this before in previous episodes, and you know, that's exactly what I'm going to do to this. Look at the dashboard. This is called a Chippendale dashboard. We just open the door and get in here. I think this is the heater. How crazy is that? How simple is that? And you'll notice as well, I think the window switches are here. Now, on the more modern, oh no, they're here. These are the window switches, so I wonder what these are. Oh, I'll soon find out anyway. Yeah, so you've got the bank of 4 switches there. You've got your normal switch here, so it's just the same as the other cornices have got, the later ones. I noticed the handle's a bit different here. This is black instead of chrome. I'm sure that's completely original. Catches are here, all nice and new. You know, great condition. And this is, I'm just surprised how nice this is, because these are normally the first things to deteriorate, especially in a hot climate. Oh, this is a nice little touch. A quarter light that opens. You know, this is kind of reminiscent of the Mercedes W100s and the Mercedes W108s. That's just great. You see on the 83 Corniche and on the 75 Corniche, these are both fixed. It's just a nice little touch. And as you can see, it's all moving beautifully. Considering it's been sitting up, you'd think they'd be seized. So yeah, it's nice. Let me show you this door as well round here. So this is another telltale sign that the car's never been messed about with. How gorgeous is that? Look at the lines there. How fine are those lines? Never been messed with. You look at the chrome strip at the bottom. There's no gaps or imperfections. You know, maybe the clips have got a little bit loose, but it's nice and straight. I'm kind of erring on the side of this isn't the original paint. I think it's probably the original colour. I mean, I'll check all this out with the dealerships and that and the powers that be, but I think this is definitely being painted. There's no coat line here, but the paint's really thin, and it shouldn't be too bad to strip this back to bare metal and do a really nice paint job on it. I think the worst thing when you're doing a paint job is when there's about, you know, 20 coats of paint and different colours underneath and all that, and you've got to take it back to bare metal. But you can see here the metal's just showing through. All nice and solid, no filler. I mean, that's just, yeah. And you look at the tyres, we've got Hankook tyres, which are a decent make, okay. They're not the turbo steel, the Avons, which the cars, I think, had since new. But they're decent tyres, you know. As I say, someone's looked after this car really well. If you take it around to this door, obviously this is a side that's had all the smash at the back, and if you watch this shut, it bounces out. You've got to close it firmly. But again, if you look at the lines here, they're pretty perfect, apart from this bit here, which is shoved forward when the collision's happened. You can just see it there, it's come in like maybe 0.5 millimetre, and that's probably what's putting the door out. Another feature on these cars, here on the wood, see that sharp edge there? It's like this. You know, and on the more modern cornices on one of the Park Woods, this is rounded, but this is like really sharp edge. The door handles are different. See them? And these are different as well. Different from the more modern cornices. Look how clean this door panel is. Look how gorgeous the leather is. Not cracked or discoloured in any shape or form. Now, this is what they all have. Your toolkit normally comes with a little winder that goes in there, and you can wind the windows up if your electric motor fails. It's probably as rare as hen's teeth, them tools. Inside the door shut here, coachwork by H.J. Mullen Park Ward Limited. Look how clean all this is. How nice the chrome is. How nice the carpets are. And just take a look at the radio. I don't think the radio was original, but it's just beautiful in all its simplicity, isn't it? Look how nice that dash is. I mean, it's just starting to kind of, not crack, but the lacquer's just starting to lift a bit. And I'm sure if I just flattened this whole dash down and re-lacquered it, it'd look $1 million. Same with the door cappings, you can just see the lacquer starting to lift here. And again, that's with the heat. Nice firm shut on there. And another thing I look at, when you look at these windows, all the windows are being retracted down. But if there's a problem with the windows, you normally see like one half sticking up or a bit wobbly up the back end and or the top end, whatever. Just these are absolutely perfect. I'm sure when I eventually get power to this car, those windows should go up and down. They might be a bit lazy at first, but they'll just slowly come back to life. All the wood's complete, nothing missing there. And as I say, I'll just replace this hood like for like. I think I'll try and get away with the headline and then steam clean it, and then replace the stuffing, and then put a new vinyl hood on. The rear bumper's completely shot, as you can see. I've got this badge, I managed to save that. Well, what a mess. You've got the rear exhaust box, smashed to bits. New one of them. It's another exhaust box, that'll probably go again, but anyway, let's think about that one. There's another one here, smashed up, front and back, that won't go again. And you know, oh, here's the half axle that I took off at the NEC. You know, it's a bit of a mess back here, and you can see where the impact is actually really taking force at the back here. It's where the battery is situated and all the main cable go to it, and it's just basically just wiped out. Now, when I was at the NEC, I tried to put a battery on the car because it was stuck in park, if you remember, and these have got an electronic selector on the column. And I thought if I can get power to it, at least I can take it out of park and put it into neutral, and we'd be able to roll it off the trailer, on and off, you know, and get it home and do the same. But I was a little bit worried I wasn't going to be able to do that because it wasn't taking the power off the battery. I think one of the earth leads has been dislodged somewhere along the way during the collision. But I think what I'll do, I'll try and get the car started in the next couple of weeks, and I'll use the earth lead to here. You know where the bonnet catch is here? That's normally a really good point to take to the battery. Anyway, I'll play around with that. Yeah, it's a real mess back here, as you can see. And there's the original spring, which has come off during the accident. I've never seen that, as I said before. Must have taken some shunt. Yeah, really interesting. And remember I had the discussion with Nigel at the show, Nigel Sandon. He says pull it from the bumper bracket at the back and get the lines on the boot. Of course, these were all handmade, so if I was to get another boot, a new boot for this, it wouldn't fit because they're all basically, you know, individual to each car that was built because they were all handmade. So I think my best bet is to pull it as straight as I possibly can and get the lines and the gaps as straight as I possibly can. And then once everything's straight and I'm happy with it, then I can start doing some cutting and put a rear quarter on it and a rear back panel if I'm going to go up that route as well. And somebody came up to me at the NEC and had a rear panel, a brand new rear panel, so I'm going to get in touch with that guy and hopefully he's still got it. I've already sourced a rear quarter, and once it's pulled out I'll assess exactly where I'm going to cut the wing and put the new piece in. This should pull out by hand, most of it. But anyway, you know, it's just a case of, I'm going to go down to Sire Auto Renew. He's the man for the job. He's got all the equipment there. He's got all the special tools, all the special machines, and he knows exactly what he's doing. So anyway, this is another discussion. And I think what I'm faced with is, because of the provenance of the car and the originality and the fact that it's #1, I mean, I've got to just try and put this car back to brand new, keep the cars, as much of the car's integrity as I possibly can, keep it as original as I possibly can, without losing its originality, you know. Also, I was looking at the colour of the carpets. It's interesting, I got the original paperwork off the Rolls-Royce Club. It's a little bit sparse, but it's really interesting at the same time. And it kind of lists what colour the car was, Valentine, mint blue, when it was originally new. And unusually it says that the interior was like an off-white colour, and this is clearly like a navy blue. So somewhere in its life along the line it's been changed. But I'm looking at these carpets here in the dark blue, as you can see, and in the car the light blue. So something's happened along the way, and I'm not sure whether this is like a navy blue, but it's like a cheap vinyl. And I know these, well, I thought these should have been leather anyway. On all the cornices it is, but maybe on an early one it wasn't. I don't know. I would imagine that's being replaced somewhere along the line, as have the carpets in the boot and the interior. Maybe the boot are original colour, maybe the ones inside the interior of the car have been changed to light blue. I don't know. I'm going to have to figure this out somewhere along the line. And I'll have to, I mean, I can't believe the seats were off-white, but I'll have a little fish around, see if I can find any little bits of leather in places. But look, that's what it says, that's what it's going to be. I'm going to have to put it back to original. All interesting stuff and a huge task ahead, but you know what? I'm already getting excited here. Yeah. You know, despite the damage, what a car. You know, this hood's going to have to be replaced. It's all ripped at the front here, but actually the headlining is surprisingly good, and I think I'm going to clean and keep the original headlining, you know, thereby keeping at least some of the integrity of the car. Yeah. You look at the dash here, it's all split again with the heat. So this is all going to have to be done. But I'm just amazed at the quality of the carpets, the quality of the wood. You know, there's no damage whatsoever, which again points to a car that's been really well looked after, really well loved and well maintained. It's got 2 mirrors, which is great. I've only got one on my black one. I've got the 2 on this red one here. But I think it was one of them. It was an option when the cars were new. You could have 1 or 2 or none. I mean, it just depended on the owner of the car, what he wanted at the time. Here you've got your electric seats, which is hard to believe. See the button there that moves your seat backwards, forwards, up, down, which again for 1967, way ahead of its time. You know, they were really beautifully engineered cars. I mean, I explained when I was at the NEC that if the car was out of gear, because this is electronic, the selector here, if you couldn't get power to the car, you couldn't take the car out of park. It was stuck in park permanently. But then I lifted the carpet and you put your wheel hub remover in and use it like a manual, which is amazing, you know, simple really, but beautifully thought out. Look at them, lovely condition. Yeah. I love this as well. It's like, it's got, when it did the one on the black one, when it did the headliner on that, inside here you've got like a tape which just weights this down just ever so slightly, so you can get the curve and it just holds it down, because this of course covers all your mechanism here, and there's about ½ inch clearance. Yeah, you know, I was saying as well in an earlier episode that to do a hood like this and the headlining, it's roughly like about 15k. And I think back in the day at Rolls-Royce in Willesden or Crewe or wherever they were building at the time, it took 3 or 4 guys like 3 or 4 weeks. I think mine took me 5 weeks and all, which wasn't bad. It wasn't bad going, considering I'd never done one before. I'd never used a sewing machine, but yeah, I was proud of that one, as I've said. But yeah, the slight difference here as well. This is flat. It's like it's a different shape on my black Cornish. Yeah, these look slightly different as well. You see the lights on the back as well on the wood. So when you open the door, they come on with the ones here. Yeah, what a beautiful car. And as I say, I'm going to go into the history of the car, who was delivered to new, and the whole story of the car. You know, every car's got a story, as we say. I know it's an old cliche, but what a story this one's got. Anyway, yeah, after assessing it, once again, I'm thrilled to bits with my purchase, and I'm really looking forward to getting stuck in and doing the restoration, and I'm going to bring this car back to new. Do you know what I find truly amazing? Just come and take a look at this. The floor is completely bone dry. There's not a drop anywhere. I don't think I've seen this on any car, let alone a new car. There's always a little drip from the air conditioning, or, you know, from the sump or the gearbox, but it's been here for 3 weeks now and it's totally and utterly bone dry, which I think is incredible. You can see here, these are the flexi hoses at the front and the hard lines, and as you can see, they're completely brand new. And if we move over to the other side, there again, 2 brand new flexi hoses. I mean, look at that, you can still see the writing clearly on them. Incredible. We go up top again, here, see what we've got. Gearbox oil, perfect, lovely and clean. Correct level. Engine oil, same again, perfect level, nice clean oil. Only just barely smells of fuel as well, which is unusual because of the way these cold starts work. Now if you just come round this side with me, I think this is pretty amazing what I'm looking at so far. If I check the top of the carburetors where the needle goes in, or the plunger, whatever you call it, and just listen to that. Nice and lubricated, not too much oil in, nice and freshly maintained by the looks of it, just like everything else. You know, and along with all the correct fluids and the clean brake fluid, and, you know, let me check the power steering fluid out. First time, by the way. I'll just take a look at that. I mean, lovely, absolutely brand new, clean fluid, right at the correct level, just like everything else, just as expected. Same with the antifreeze, exactly the same. correct level, nice and blue. You know, brand new radiator. And you look at the suspension here, it's the hydraulic suspension. They're invariably capped off, these, when you see them when you open the bonnet, you know, all these early Bentleys or Rolls-Royces, because it was revolutionary at the time, but I don't think it was thought through properly, and it became a little bit dangerous, so most of them are capped off and sort of, you know, disbanded, so that it's just running on the normal conventional way of suspension, the way it works. I mean, for me, it just looks like a car that's had a lot of money spent on it and a lot of love lavished on it over the years. It shows. I mean, you look underneath, you know, you see all the new brake lines and new calipers. It's just a shame, really. I'm trying to piece together what could have happened. It looks to me, I mean, one of the viewers wrote in and said, it's been parked on the right-hand side of the road and a dust truck's hit it. It's got to be something big and quite powerful. But the way these cars are designed, they were designed so that if they have a big back-end smash, they go down into the ground. That's why the rear suspension is taking the brunt of the hit. You know, I suppose it prevents the car from rolling over or smashing into the car in front of it. Really well thought out, really, but you know, all the damage is at the back and there's a lot of work in that. But when you move forward from that, as we've seen with the interior and the chrome on the front and everything else, the fact that there's no drops of oil or fluid of any kind under the car, and it's been sitting here for nearly a month now, it just goes to show it's a really well looked after car. And I think once it was hit, that was the end. They just sent it to the junkyard, it was written off, and it was destined for the crusher. And I feel so honoured to be able to save this car and be in the right place at the right time and have the balls, I suppose, to get stuck into it, which you know I have got. Some people call me a mug or a fool, but make your own mind up, because I think this is going to make the most unbelievable car. #1 off the production line. You know, it's part of British heritage. Bentley and Rolls-Royce when they were at the best. British car making, you know, British car manufacturing at the very best. And yeah, you know, you talk about living your life and leaving a legacy. Well, I'm trying to save as many of these beauties as I possibly can, and I hope you're going to come on the journey with me. Yeah, thrilled to bits. Okay, let's take a look at this paperwork, shall we? Okay, now I've just received this from the Rolls-Royce and Bentley enthusiasts. It's basically the chassis number, the build sheet, when it was ordered new back in 1967. It makes for some interesting read. I mean, there's not a lot of paperwork here, but we'll just go through it, shall we? So here we go. It's from the Rolls-Royce enthusiasts, just basically confirming the chassis number and everything else. It says here, chassis number CBH3049, the original registration number ORX212F, so I'll be trying to retain that, of course. Full refrigeration, black Dunlop tyres, which is a bit of a surprise. I mean, this must have been before the Avon Turbo Steel times. Dunlop's no longer available, what's the bet? Electric aerial, electric windows, of course. Emergency hand window, oh, that'll be the little winder you put in if your motors break down. Sun-dim glass, it's probably tinted windows. Refrigeration, split parking device, safety belt just the front seats, stereo dash tape, reproducer, power operated hood, hood bag and cover, oh, that's missing. 2x fog lamps, 2 tins of polish. Lowered steering column bracket. Oh, that's unusual. I wonder what that is. Delivered to LB Ash Developments Limited in Bishop Stortford, Hertfordshire. Now, the next one, you can clearly see the chassis number. Bentley T-Series HJ Mulliner Park Wood Coupe, Valentine Ming Blue. So that's the original colour, it looks right. Upholstery, off-white leather. Now that's interesting, because as you can see, it's dark leather, it's like a navy blue leather, and there's even the colour scheme there. So I'll have to look for little remnants of that, if it's there. This may have been changed before it was delivered new, but I highly doubt it. I think it was probably this colour, it's been changed somewhere along the line, so we'll have to look into that. All the dates when it went there, you know, when it was a full built-up chassis and it went to Mulliner Park Wood to get the body sorted. Yeah, Radio Mobile 980 VSV. I don't know whether that's still there. Okay, here you've got the build card here. That's the price, £8,500. Wow. Air conditioning unit, £145. Safety harnesses to both front seats, £251. Stereo tape reproducer in console, £80. Less 15%, £1,312 and 16 pence. Well, would have been pennies in those days, wouldn't it? Purchase tax on £8,750, £2,007 and 11 pennies. Wow. Registration number ORX 212F, £215. Purchase tax on those was 12 shillings and 8 pennies. 4 gallons of petrol, £1.22. Wow. Amazing. There we go again. Delivered new to David Wickens. Well, we'll talk a little bit about that in a minute. Drophead coupe, Valentine in blue, usual coach builder. Okay, there you go there. Full refrigeration, black donuts. So it's basically just repeating itself, really. Yeah. There you go. Interesting, not a lot, but it gives you an idea of what was ordered when the car was new and what colour it came in, what colour the interior was, which is great. So let's speak a little bit more about the person it was delivered new to in January 1968. It was delivered to a guy called David Wickens. Now, I didn't really know much about this guy. He's kind of a different generation, a generation before me, but I'm sure there's people who know an awful lot about him. Just to give you an idea, after the war ended in 1945, he was in the Navy, and when he was demobbed, he came home to his mother's and he wanted to sell his car, which was a Riley Lynx. So he put like an advert in the Farnham News, like the local newspaper, to say the first person to turn up with £200 can take the car. And when he got home, there was literally like 100 people outside his house and they were all fighting over the car, and eventually he sold it for £420, which sparked the idea of a car auction. So he rented a farm field out, and with 14 cars, other people's cars, he set about an auction and therefore formed the Southern Counties Car Auctions, which quickly became the British Car Auctions as we know it today. I think like We Buy Any Car and companies like that are all like subsidiary companies that have come from the British Car Auctions. You know, they're still around today, and it basically changed the face of selling cars, if you know what I suppose. He was a real British entrepreneur. He had his thumb in every pie. He had different ventures, different business ventures, like he made a fortune through laundrettes, as well as the car auctions, and managed to acquire a place called Toddington Manor in the Cotswolds in sort of like the early 1970s, which he paid £3.5 million for, and eventually sold for £200,000 to buy Tony Jacklin, the world champion golfer's house in the Cotswolds. And eventually Damien Hirst, the revered artist, now lives in Toddington Manor. It's this big gothic stately home, as you can see in the pictures. Imagine living there in the 1970s, driving your Bentley or your Rolls-Royce, and, you know, considering all your business ventures and who you want to be tomorrow. And, you know, for his daughter's 7th birthday present, what did he buy her? A DeLorean. Talk about eccentric. Like I say, he had his thumb in every pie. He was a really interesting, genius entrepreneur. He wasn't just a millionaire, he was actually a billionaire. You know, in the times when they're paying like 90 odd pence in the pound to the government to deal in revenue, you had to be a serious hitter to be that kind of rich, in, you know, in those days. So yeah, he wanted to move abroad, so he moved to the States with different business ventures in 1975. Whether he took the car with him, I don't know. But he also was the major shareholder, or one of the major shareholders at Lotus. And when Colin Chapman died, he spearheaded the company back into profit. And eventually this was around 1982-83, but eventually in 1986, he managed to sell Lotus to General Motors in the United States. What a great life. What a great guy. What a really interesting individual. And yeah, I know I go on about, you know, every car's got a story, but in some cases, especially this one, you know, the first owner's story is just as interesting, if not more interesting, than this super rare car as well. I just think the two, you know, kind of complement each other, and what a fantastic story to go with the car. Anyway, I'm going to be looking for more information. Maybe you can message in and say little things that you know about him, and maybe we can piece together a decent story, and we can maybe revisit this in a future episode, you know, halfway through the, you know, the renovation or the restoration. Anyway, interesting stuff. Oh, and I almost forgot to mention, here's an interesting factoid for you. Did you know that H.J. Mulliner was actually born in Liverpool? He was brought up in Chiswick in London, okay, but he was actually born right here. Oh, and I was studying the algorithms the last couple of days, and you know, we've got 33,000 subscribers, which I'm really grateful for. But did you also know that 67% of our avid viewers are not even subscribed? So come on guys, do me a favour, just take a minute, hit that button, and before you know, we could have 100,000 subscribers. I'm afraid that's all we got time for this week, so thank you so much for tuning in, and don't forget, if you want to become one of the first members, hit that join button. See you all next time. Thank you for watching this episode of Classic Obsession. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to like and subscribe, and see you all next time.